Disturbing facts that will probably disturb you even if you're not easily disturbed. Part 37. This particular video is going to be a very special video because it is a compilation of as many disturbing facts as I can fit into the time limit. 30% of all people reported missing, then found dead, were killed by the person that reported them missing. Okay, so like nobody report me missing. Just let me go. What's that? Trichotillomania is a disorder that causes you to pick. And I don't just mean like popping pimples, you know, picking scabs, whatever. I mean like pick to the point where you cause yourself injury. A very famous case is Kelly Ronaghan, who was a ballet dancer. There's a whole rabbit hole with Kelly Ronaghan that you can go down, but eventually she picked the skin on her legs to the point where she had to get skin grafts. She picked those too, and then she had to get her legs amputated. I will drop a link on the whole timeline of Kelly Ronaghan, but please be warned, there are pictures and they are graphic. Some people that jump from the Golden Gate Bridge survive, but their bodies are so badly broken that they can't pull themselves to shore and they drown in agony. Every single person that has jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and survived said the same exact thing, that they regretted it as soon as they stepped off the ledge. CNN has a pre-recorded broadcast, which they will air at the end of the world. I will link it here, but it is very underwhelming. Cotard delusion, also known as walking corpse syndrome, is when a person has the belief that they themselves or even a body part is dead, dying, or does not exist. Fatal familial insomnia is a very rare and fatal inherited neurodegenerative prion disease. It is basically where you wake up one day and you never go back to sleep, and it kills you every single time. I'm going to link a YouTube video of one man who documented his entire experience with fatal familial insomnia, from the day that he couldn't go back to sleep to the day that he died. Your bones are wet. Your eyes have a completely separate immune system from the rest of your body, and if the rest of your body's immune system ever catches wind of your eyes, you'll go blind because your body's immune system will attack them thinking that they are a threat. I don't know about y'all, but I got some pretty damn threatening eyeballs. I think they could probably hold their own. During a football game in Brazil, the referee stabbed one of the players. In turn, the crowd stormed the field, stoned the referee to death, and then decapitated him. Don't mess with Brazil's football players, bro. Have you learned nothing? An Ohio man who fled his home in 1986 and then was declared legally dead in 1994 re-emerged in 2005 and petitioned the court to overturn his death status. He lost, and he is still considered legally dead. You know, some people, legally dead or not, are dead inside as it is. So I would just stay dead, my dude. During World War II, Japan bombed China with plague-infected fleas. Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street was based off of a true story. A young man started having severe nightmares, so severe that he did not want to fall asleep. When he finally did fall asleep, his parents heard him from their bedroom screaming in fear, and by the time they arrived in his room, he was already dead. On November 24th, 2009, 26-year-old John Edward Jones became stuck in the Nutty Putty Cave and died after being trapped inside for 28 hours. He believed this small passageway was a turnaround, and when he climbed in, he became wedged headfirst. Here is a diagram showing how he was stuck for more than a day. He ultimately suffered cardiac arrest due to the strain placed on his body. If you get a pimple or a blackhead in this area of your face, do not pop it. They call this area the triangle of death because if you get an infection there, it can travel to your brain and kill you quicker than you can treat it. Psychopaths are not generally the way that they are portrayed in movies and books. Most of the time, psychopaths are very superficially charming, and they can lead very, very normal lives. They just have a lot of trouble being empathetic or creating real bonds with people. Studies suggest that there are more psychopaths that live among us than we initially anticipated. You could be watching one right now. So I know we've all seen the meth heads hanging out at the corner, talking to themselves, like telling the ghost across from them to like steal third or doing the hand jive or whatever. So stimulant-induced psychosis is a very, very real thing, but a lot of people that abuse stimulants are not hallucinating due to the drug itself. They are hallucinating due to lack of sleep. Chunks of meat once fell from the sky in Kentucky that would later be known as the Kentucky meat shower. The source of the meat was never identified, although some locals did taste it to try and find out. One theory is that it was a flock of vultures that vomited over the area. Tumors can grow teeth and hair. Here's a picture of one. Come here. Barney said, did someone say Kentucky meat shower? I want to try some vulture puke. Leonid Ivanovich Rogozov was a Russian surgeon who was on an expedition and was the only doctor on this expedition. And he developed appendicitis and the only option was for him to remove his appendix himself. He just used local anesthesia and made the incision on his abdomen that was 10 to 12 centimeters long and removed his own appendix in about an hour and 45 minutes. What a baddie. Hippos can propel themselves like so. Do not mess with hippos. Fir trees can grow in your lungs. Here's a picture of an x-ray with a fir tree in a man's lung. Mary Toft, who in 1726 became the subject of considerable controversy when she tricked doctors into believing that she was giving birth to rabbits. Miss Toft was so convincing that many doctors believed the phenomenon until one of the doctors decided to do an autopsy on one of the rabbits and found a corn kernel in its stomach. Come to find out, Miss Toft, with her crazy ass, was inserting the rabbits into her vagina and then simulating a birth. For believability. Crocodiles can gallop like so. I'm terrified of crocodiles and I'm terrified of hippos. There are over 200,000 unsolved murders in the United States since 1980. In the 1930s, many London residents that lived in high-rise apartments would put their babies in cages outside of the window to get them some fresh air. A lot of people know when they are about to die. So a lot of the times people will say, I don't feel right, something's wrong, and a lot of the times they'll say, I have to go to the bathroom, and then they code. I feel like there is like a deep-seated instinct that tells us when our time is near, even if we don't consciously know it. If you go to the hospital and you get a blood transfusion and they accidentally give you the incorrect blood type, one of the symptoms is a sense of impending doom, which ironically enough is also one of the symptoms for a fatal heart attack. Ted Bundy worked for a suicide hotline when he was in college. Could you imagine getting Ted Bundy on the suicide hotline and he like talked you off a ledge and you were like, wow, maybe I don't want to kill myself anymore. And then lo and behold, he's a crazy person. Chris Watts, the man who brutally murdered his pregnant wife and his 2 children, regularly receives love letters and lewd photos in prison. 1 in 5 men will leave their wives if their wives get sick or if they have to be cared for in some manner. Mentally handicapped children are 3 times as likely to be sexually assaulted. Egyptian mummies wouldn't be so rare today if the Victorian British hadn't eaten most of them. A little boy contracted a brain-eating amoeba at Disney's water park, and he died. Your appendix is pretty much useless, but it absolutely can kill you if it bursts. Your tongue is a very curious creature, and a lot of people are not aware that when you are at the dentist, your tongue chases the dentist while he's rooting around in your mouth. Now I don't ever want to go to the dentist again, but please go to the dentist. Your teeth don't grow back. 123 people have fallen to their death at the Grand Canyon. 75 of them did it on purpose, but it is believed that a large percentage died trying to take the perfect selfie and or trying to pee over the edge. Komodo dragons poison their victims and follow them around until they are thoroughly poisoned and exhausted, and then the Komodo dragon will tear its victim to shreds while it is still alive and eat it. Some prisoners in Auschwitz had the specific job of doing nothing but burning photo albums and children's toys because they were deemed useless. Exploding head syndrome is when a loud bang goes off inside of your mind that only you can hear. A lot of the times it happens to people when they are very close to sleep, but not to me. I just have a hypnic jerk every single night. If you're not aware of what a hypnic jerk is, it is when your body feels as if your breathing has slowed down too much, and so it assumes that you are close to death, so it will jerk you awake to try and save your life. I'm not dying. And if I am, let me go. Imposter syndrome is the false belief that a friend, a family member, a spouse, even a pet has been replaced by an imposter. Refrigerators are magnetic because kids used to die inside of them. Before 1956, refrigerators could only be opened from the outside. It's very rare, but cracking or popping your neck can cause a stroke. Bayer Aspirin briefly sold heroin as a medication for children. In rare instances, when an Amber Alert is sent out, the kidnapper will panic and kill the child. Chainsaws were originally invented for use on pregnant women to remove cartilage and pelvic bone to free up space while giving birth. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it's just like your OBGYN. Thanks for watching.